All right, Josh, how you doing? Good to see your
Hey,
face again.
you too. You too. 7 days and doing good. What about yourself?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. As you can see, I've got a little change of scenery here. I am out on a business trip, and so I'm in a hotel. And hey, it goes back to what we were talking about before. We live a certain life. We have day jobs and all that, and um, but no matter what, we're always going to try to be on every week.
Oh
So
yeah,
here
for
we are.
sure. Here we are. Yet another week. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. How was your week overall?
Overall pretty good. Just making it through, getting settled in, over here just moved and uh just doing those things, just unpacking and doing all kinds of stuff like that. So, and then the
Yeah,
heat, the
moving.
heat's about to break, and it's maybe those dog days are coming to an end, maybe. So, fingers crossed.
Yeah, for real. It's brutal heat. Um, I probably used that same adjective last time. It's just unbearable. But
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully it's coming to an end soon. Um, yeah, I mean, over here, pretty smooth week. I mean, obviously I've been traveling, but it's been good overall. And I kind of thought about what we were talking about last week, and I wanted to dive into that subject a little bit more because it reminded me of similar themes that I have read about in Bhagavad Gita, which um, I'm sure a lot of people have heard of that book, and it's a great book. Um, and I know I talk about that book, I'll throw it in here and there, but I don't think you haven't actually read it, have you?
Haven't read it. I've
I
heard
mean,
about
you
it.
know
Just
about it, but
know some things. Yeah, in and out of it.
yeah. And so, for the sake of anyone who hasn't read it, I'll just go ahead and briefly summarize it. Um, Basically, what it is you have a very powerful warrior who is part of a royal family. His name is Arjuna, and he is about to embark on one of the biggest battles that he's ever had to participate in ever. Um, but the interesting thing about this battle that he's about to fight in, and of course he's like a high-ranking, general type figure. He's way up there, but he knows how to fight. I mean, he's definitely top class warrior material. But the thing that's interesting about the battle is that on the other side of the battlefield are family members of his. And so what's happened to this royal family is that there's been a split, and over various like political reasons and other things like that, they have split into two separate factions, and now they're going to face each other in battle.
Yeah.
And this guy who's like pretty much a badass, um, all of a sudden he pulls up, to the front lines basically, and he's looking at the other side, and he sees grandfathers, uh, mentors of his from the past, cousins, other relatives, all of that, right? Um, and I I may not be hitting the exact relatives specifically, um, but it's something to that effect, right? He's basically seeing people that are very near and dear to him, and all of a sudden he just breaks down and is like, "I can't do this. I can't fight, um, because I can't kill these people that I love, so I just don't have it in me. I quit." Well, Krishna, right? You may be aware of him. I'm sure people are. This ancient Hindu god who some see as the supreme deity. Excuse me. And others may see as just an avatar, but he is actually on Arjuna's side. Um, and I'm forgetting, and I'm gonna be mad at myself for this. I'm forgetting what the deal was, but there was some deal that was made of like one side. I'm gonna have to go back and figure this out again because I know I'm gonna mess it up. But one side has like, I think it may be like more guys, like they have just a greater amount of soldiers. Um, but the other side gets Krishna, and Krishna is able to like advise that side on, which strategic moves they should make in battle and stuff like that. So it was almost like this deal that was made, and again, I could be kind of messing that up, but like one side would would choose whether they want more people or not, and then or whether they would want Krishna or not. So the enemy side from Arjuna that I've been telling you about, they chose to have more warriors, I believe is what it was. So they've got like this massive army that's way outnumbers Arjuna's soldiers. But Arjuna has Krishna, and Krishna is able to advise him on all these different things, which, I mean, this guy's a god, right? So he has the potential to, no matter how small your army is, like really help you out. So um, anyway, what happens is that Arjuna breaks down and he's like, hey, I can't do this. I quit. um, I'm basically just gonna like retreat to the woods and go meditate and just be like a sannyasi, a yogi. Um, and Krishna's like, whoa, 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 no, you're not gonna do that. You're gonna fight. You're gonna stay here and fight. Now that's the interesting thing about Bhagavad Gita to me, because um, it's a spiritual book, and you would think that it would be all about peace and, oh yeah, lay down your weapons, and ahimsa. That's a Sanskrit word for nonviolence, right? That's a very important um, tenet of Hinduism, Buddhism, all of these things, right? So you would think that it like Krishna would be like, no, you need to lay down all your weapons. You're right. Lay down all your weapons. Everybody surrender, and let's all go to the jungle and meditate. But he doesn't say that. He says, no, pick up your weapon, hold it, with confidence, and go slay your family. And it's like,
Yeah.
wow, I didn't expect that from, the God of the universe, basically.
Mhm.
But the whole meaning of all of that is that you have a purpose in life, and you have a duty in life, and you have a path in life that you have been given. Some people might think that's God given. Other people might think it's just something they're passionate about, and they've come to like it, so they know that it's their role that they should play in life. However you see it, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you see that you have a path in front of you. And again, it takes time for all of us to find out what that is. But eventually you find a path, and you stick to that path because you know that you were built for that path. And Arjuna, being I'm going to butcher this word, but I believe it's Kshatriya. Again, it probably did not pronounce that correctly, but it's basically like the Sanskrit word for the warrior class. So he is born and bred warrior, and that's like what he was born and raised to do, and that's what he grew up in, and that's just like his path, right? So the big thing is Krishna's telling him, just stick to you know what your duty is, and don't waver from that.
Mm.
So I know I've talked now for a while. um, I'm going to read one verse to start it off.
Okay.
I have a couple here off the side, and fun thing about this, I used Chat GPT to pull up all these verses, and I did verify a majority of them to make sure they're correct, and they are. Because I knew the theme, but I didn't know exactly where I needed to look again, so I just had it pull it up for me. That's the beauty of technology. See, if we use it for good, it can be great.
Yes.
Anyway, I'll get off
Yes.
my soapbox with that. No, I'm just going to read one verse, and then I'm interested to see what you think about it,
Okay. Yeah.
and then what you think about, I guess, everything I've said, and then I'll shut up. So this is from chapter 2, verse 31. Now, again, I got this from ChatGPT, so I don't know what translation this is. There's different translations, and different authors or different translators have different twists on how they want to convey the message. So um, I think this is fine, but again, I don't know where exactly it's coming from. Anyway, chapter 2, verse 31. Considering your dharma, or your path, or your duty, right? Considering your dharma, you should not waver. For a warrior, there is nothing more honorable than a war against evil. So this goes back to what I was saying, right? Where Arjuna was saying, no, I can't do this. I see beloved people on the other side. I cannot face them. And again, you would think Krishna would be like, you're right. You should go give them a hug, and we should all sing kumbaya around the fire and, be at peace. But he says, no, considering your path, do not waver. You're a warrior, and there's nothing more honorable than a war against evil.
Hmm.
What do you think about that?
So in this, well, real quick, in this book, and maybe is this kind of like a um what it's trying to say, or the story is trying to, like, how do I say this? Um Talk about it in like a myth, myth, methodical mythology type of way. I don't I don't know if I'm getting that right word
Yeah,
out,
I see where you're
but
going. Yeah,
but of it's talking about something, um to to teach a lesson inside of it, or is this something saying, this, it happened, um I just trying to get it, like, how somebody, they'll tell a story, um to better, so that the audience can understand it a little bit better, so that they can
right.
receive the message the way it needs to be received. Does that make any kind of does it make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think perhaps it could be both.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know that anyone really knows if it actually happened in history.
Okay.
Um, I think you could argue one way or another, but regardless of that, um, yeah, it's meant to illustrate, uh, or should I say, make a point through a story.
Hmm.
Now, that's not the only point that it makes, right? I'm
Hmm.
I'm kind of harping on like one of
Yeah.
the takeaways, which is the whole follow your duty, follow your path type of thing. But
Hmm.
there's multiple lessons to be taken out of it. In
For
fact,
sure.
probably like most of the lessons in life, I feel like you could take out of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I
Okay.
think you're right. Yeah, it's kind of like a story to teach a lesson type of thing.
Okay. Okay. So on this, I mean, I agree. Um, going against any type of evil. Now, when I label evil, to me, I'm labeling it as, in this world, I would label it as, so, somebody obviously doing wrong, right? That's harming others, that, are living their life and not doing anything to anybody. Uh, but then to me, then we get into the being sense. So strip away the mind, and then you have the being. Um, I don't know if you can be in that state and be truly evil without the mind, with the ego gone and all that stuff. Uh, or maybe you can, as I'm talking to you, to where I would say we're kind of like this. And again, not saying that we're up here or anything, or I'm just saying as we're getting more conscious in the path that we've been on and where we can get to on a more conscious level when we want to, um, like being, where you can play outside of this world and you can play inside this world.
Mm.
But when you know the truth, and where home really is, the other side, strip away all that stuff. But then you come back into the world knowing what you know and starting to manipulate things, and then maybe creating this world, and or not creating, just getting into this world and doing evil things, maybe off of manipulation. Everybody's like a computer, right? So you're able to hack these computers, and to your benefit, right?
Mm.
Because you've become a little powerful, so maybe you've gotten to an enlightened sense. You come back into this world and you do evil things with it, right? um so in that sense, I could see where uh that's maybe evil on another level.
Yeah.
And maybe, again, I'd have to read this book just to see a little bit more in depth of maybe what it was saying. But okay, sticking on that path, and nothing, is more, would you say, honorable than
Yeah.
war against evil. You know, if that be the case, I could see where somebody in that evil sense could just destroy not only the world that everybody's living in, the un, the unconscious world, but still their beings there. They might just be asleep. But you're not only going to kill that world, but you're also going to just maybe even eliminate everybody, like to where they have no chance to get out. You might just screw it up for everybody.
Yeah.
And yes, going out there and defeating something like that, to where it might put everybody in permanent bondage to where they can't escape anymore. And this needs to be done. Um, this is a virus, and it needs to be taken out. Um, and so, again, I'm speculating here, but I could see, like,
No, it's
if
interesting.
if Krishna were to say, like, no, no, you're not walking away from this. This needs to be done. Um, then I would say it would have to be pretty powerful to me for a God to intervene and say, no, this needs to be done. That
Right.
this could really ripple things and really ruin the whole thing here. So you need to follow through with this, and not retreat. Like, this isn't the time to meditate. Like, this is a real problem. Like, maybe even if you meditate, right? Maybe because of the other side. If you meditate and you get out of this world, he's going to be there.
Mm.
He's going to meet you on either
Yeah.
plane. It doesn't matter. You cannot escape him. You have to
Yeah.
do it now,
That's
and
interesting.
and the battle's here now. And no, I'm here. We're gonna win, and we got to do this thing. So anyway,
Yeah.
that's my
No, that's
speculative
interesting.
take.
Yeah, that I've never thought of it that way. And that's why I like hearing from you, because yeah, it could be one of those things too, where it's like this thing is so bad and it needs to be taken out. And you know, you can't, you don't have a choice. You know,
Yeah, sorry. Like you
you
said, it's in your car. It's been written like you are the one to do this.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, and you know, the way that I was thinking of it, and the reason why I was kind of piggybacking off of our last talk with this is because I thought of it in the sense of, you know, we've always talked about, or we've thought about, hypothetically speaking, whether we would need to leave and go become a monk somewhere to really, you know, get to where we want to be or where we feel like we should be. Um, and you know, we kind of talked about like you don't have to do that. You can do that. Maybe that is your path, is to
Mhm.
do that, and that's fine. Um, we need that because there's a lot of people who are monks that, you know, are able to teach really amazing things, and they probably get a lot of insight that you couldn't get from, you know, somebody in the world. So I mean, I think you need that too, but I also think you can uh, be on their same level even in this world, living the life we live, you know, working jobs and having families and all that.
Mhm.
Um, and not only for all the stuff that we talked about last time, but also because of this theme in Bhagavad Gita where it's like, no, this is your duty because you are a warrior, right? And it's like
Mhm.
taking that um, that path that you're meant to be on and really embracing it and not trying to run away from it. And maybe even using it to your advantage. Maybe actually you would become more enlightened on the path you're already on. And maybe if you became a monk, you would fall off or something. I don't know. Like, who knows what would happen? But um, I like, I just like what it says about sticking to what you were called to do and what
Mhm.
you're meant to do. And I mean, I've felt that way even in my career. Like I feel like I really found something. Um, but here's one thing that I think is important, and it's actually the next verse here that I wanted to read because there's a fine line to walk. I feel like when you're living in this world, and but you still want to tread the path of enlightenment. Um, because you really have to put everything in perspective. And here's what I mean by that. This one is chapter 2, verses 47 and 48. You have a right to perform your prescribed duties, but you are not entitled to the fruits of your actions. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, nor be attached to inaction. Perform your duty equipoised, O Arjuna, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga. So the thing that I get out of that with, you know, my my role in life, which I think we all have different roles that we play. Um, but I'm right now attributing that to like my career, right? And I look at it and I'm like, yeah, things could be going great and you know you find success and that's all wonderful, but don't be attached to the results. Don't be attached to the fruits that come out of that, like whether that be money or some other, you know, status or some other possession or whatever it may be, because the moment you become attached to those things that you're receiving from, you know, all the success you're having, that's where you're setting yourself up really for failure because if you ever lose those things, and I mean, eventually you will anyway, it's called dying. But, you know, if and when you ever lose those things, what are you going to do then? Right. Like,
Yeah.
and I think that's the thing that I disagree with on people when they're like, oh, well, if you're living in the world and you're working this job and like it's all about money and everything, and all you're going to be doing is just worrying about money and how much you're making, and it's like, no, sure, having money's great, but you know, it's just a tool. It's just something you're using to make ends meet, but you don't build your happiness around that. You don't build your life around that in terms of like your identity, right?
Mm.
Because the moment you do that, you you you're just gonna eventually crumble. Um, so I guess what I'm getting at is I think you can still live in this world and not be of this world, and like we were saying last time, and I think you can just stick to whatever it is that you feel like you're passionate about and you feel like you're called to do, whatever that may look like, but still live in an enlightened state, which is, I really don't care what happens because I'm above all of this. Like,
Mm.
yeah, I'm playing the game, but I'm not attached to it at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. I'm the same way. Well, getting into the money and stuff, I've heard, this of, um, if you're unhappy and then you come into a lot of money, you know, yes, it might bring, and again, it's not even true happiness, right? It's the mind's way. It's a playground. The money is, going to bring it some temporary happiness, but then it's probably going to make you even worse in the end, if you were unhappy to begin with. But if you're the one you are happy, your life is perfect, or when you say perfect, but your life is great. You have everything that you'd ever need, family, whatever the case may be, right? You're content. And then money comes along, it's just a cherry on top of my Sunday, right? I mean, it's just like a
Yeah,
bonus. Like, oh, that's great. Now I can be happy and I can travel the world now. You know what I mean? It's just like, but if I'm unhappy and then money comes along, well, I'm probably gonna. It's just it'll bring temporary mindful happiness. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but it's gonna bring that, and then it'll leave me sooner or later, like you said, whether being dead or you run out of money or whatever the case may be, or the more money, more problems, type of
yeah,
aspect of it. It's all that, you're finding so much refuge. Well, that's it. If you're unhappy, that means you haven't fixed in here, right?
mm,
So, like, if I'm using the money now to make myself happy, I'm all my refuge, I'm finding refuge everywhere else and not here. So, uh,
wow, yeah,
um, then those things are going to go, and whatever the case may be. But yes, on the path, I have been. This is the one thing that I say. I don't know if I've said it in every video, but again, I think it corresponds with what we're talking about. Of my right now, my belief in everything happens for a reason, and I have to tell myself this when things get hard in life, uh, things that I don't understand, things I might be going through right now. I have to look and say, okay, what's the lesson in it? You know, uh, this right now is getting me ready for what's coming. And I cannot if I sit there and I run from my problems, or run from these the world's situations, and I'm not following my path. I'm starting to get afraid, and I'm trying to retreat to a comfort zone, you know, and that's not. I don't think that's what this world was intended for. It's more intended for to to keep moving forward. Whatever comes your way, you have to look at it as, okay, there's a bump in the road, and what is the deep lesson in it? What is
Mm,
this trying to teach me? And you got to stay on the path. Um, and it's the same thing even with my job. Things sometimes can, maybe we'll hit a financial thing to where we're not bringing in a lot, and it's very easy to sit there and go, oh man, if this keeps going on, I might not be able to pay my bills, and stuff like that. But then all of a sudden it comes into my mind, don't worry about it. Uh, it's already been written, and I'm just going to just continue to forward it. Why even fret about it? You know, uh, I've just got to stay on the path. This is where I was meant to be, and I'm not going to let something in this world affect me of what I know now of not moving forward. This is just things that they're just constant tests. You know, like how real are you? It's constantly testing you.
yeah.
Like, do you really believe what you believe? You know, and it's constantly testing you, and you got to just stay forward and continue on. Just like it's hard to getting onto the more conscious side of things, and friends and people, they'll start to, they'll start to, move out of your life. And not saying everybody, but that does happen because you're becoming different. And some people that will keep them staying there, right? Because they don't want that. But they're not staying true to the path. They're letting this world affect where they're supposed to go. And uh so yeah, it's my piggyback on what you were saying. So I totally agree.
No, that's really good because that's really what Bhagavad Gita is. I found that kind of funny how you said, "What's the lesson here?"
Hmm.
Because I just thought of the book even at that moment, to where you know Arjuna's going up to the front lines, he sees the other side, and all of a sudden it's that bump in the road you were talking about,
Hmm.
and then it's like, all right, what's the lesson here? And then that's a whole book of lessons right there, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's kind of funny, but it's true, because you really have to look at everything as a lesson. Um, I mean, I think if you do that and you can start to see life as kind of like a school, then that can be very helpful. Yeah. Um, let me see what's another one here though, because I love what you said, and I kind of want to see if there's some other ones here that spark any other interesting conversations. So let's see. Ah, now this is interesting. this is uh this is chapter 3, verse 35, and Krishna again is talking to Arjuna. All these are Krishna talking to Arjuna, if you didn't
Okay.
already catch on. But
Yeah.
Krishna is saying it is better to fail in one's own dharma than to succeed in the dharma of another. The dharma of another brings fear. So you could replace dharma, like if anyone, which I'm sure people understand what that means, but if anyone doesn't, you could replace that with duty, or in this case, like what we've titled the video, path. So you could say it's better to follow one's own path than to succeed in the path of another. the path of another brings fear.
Mhm.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. The first thing that comes to my mind is something that my dad had told me a long time ago when I was real young. Now, I feel that there is some credit in this, and then when you go into a deeper sense, it there is a lot, and then I feel it again. It corresponds with what you just said. So one time, my dad, I'll be running around with the neighborhood kids and stuff, and maybe dads, they're always watching, seeing how you act and how you are with the other kid, just they're just being parents. And there was a thing. Maybe he had seen me kind of following others, maybe a little too much, right? And one day he had pulled me aside, maybe come inside or something. He said, "Hey, boy, don't be, you know, as you grow, don't be, you know, following all the time. You need to step up and you need to lead. Don't waste your time, following fools. Pretty much. You need to,
Yeah.
you need to. There's a time to follow and there's a time to lead. But I think he at one point he was worried about it because that's maybe all he saw me doing was just following others, right? And why I bring that up is to what you're saying about following somebody else's dharma. So if that's the case, it might be their ambitions, their dreams, their path, or maybe you're doing it because maybe not only they are doing it, but they're the cool ones, right? So everybody
Mm,
else is doing what they're doing, or the most powerful ones doing. So now you want to be part of the clique, part of the crew, right? You want to be part of the gang, so you do it. But again, now you're being fake to yourself. That's not you. You're letting the ego come in to play. And that would be the only reason why I would see the necessity to doing that, um is because you're trying to gain uh uh you know the people being around you and stuff like that, and people liking you, but you're changing yourself to try to blend in with them, and that's never going to find you happiness. And well, again, it's temporary, and again, it's the mind. That's the way the mind can. That's its comfort level. It needs to be worshipped. It needs to be part of things. It doesn't want to be secluded, right? So, uh, with all that said, it's just you've got to, again, stay true to yourself, no matter what anybody says, and you just got to walk that path. And yeah, that's just again coming off of what you're saying. And I'm sure after you talk again, some other thing spark, but
no, that's perfect. I really like that because there are times where you really do have a choice of whether you want to lead or just be the follower, right? And um, I've done that many times where I've just decided to follow along with the crowd and do whatever they're all doing, and it never ended up going very well for me whenever I did that. So, you know, and you would think you would learn, after a time or two, but I'm still learning today.
oh yeah, we all are.
Yeah. And it even reminds me of kind of this little kick I've been on recently of and I brought it up last week where I decided I wasn't going to drink, um, which is definitely a new thing for me, and I'm kind of finding my way through it, navigating my way through it, and you know, been on a business trip here and um, going out to happy hours and bars and stuff like that to have different meetings or just you know uh, mingle with people. Um, and I haven't got anything to drink. I just got like soda or water or something like that. And it's weird because this whole time I've had, and this has been years in the making, I've had this fear of what people would think of me if I didn't drink around them. Like, and especially in business when you're trying to build relationships and you know do all these different things, and it's like you don't want to be the outcast. You want to be a part of the crowd and have a fun time and make sure you don't look weird in front of anyone else.
Yeah, yeah,
So I've always had a fear of like, well, I can never quit because then I'm going to be the weird guy in the corner and everyone's going to be like, well, that guy's no fun, so fire him.
yeah, yeah. Who's the
But
first one to go? Him. Yeah,
yeah, that guy
yeah,
over there,
yeah,
the guy with the soda.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
What a loser. He's got a Dr. Pepper.
Dr.
Um,
Pepper in one hand, club soda in the other. What the hell, man? Yeah,
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 come on, dude.
yeah,
No, but it's weird because I've gotten to a point where I'm like, I'm just gonna do this, and I'm not gonna succumb to the pressures of people around me or society or whatever.
yeah,
And I was like, I'm just gonna go for it, and I'm scared because I don't know what people are gonna think.
yeah,
And then it's just like anything else that you might run into where you're all freaked out at first, and then you do it, and then you realize it was nothing. And that's
yeah.
how this was. It was like no one cared. Half the people thought I had a drink anyway because it was a soda, and it's like, oh, that's probably some mixed drink in that.
Oh yeah. See, yeah,
Um,
there you go.
yeah, so
Just
it's
put a
like,
hey, just put an umbrella in it, and
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. No
yeah,
one knows any different, and so it's like nothing happened. Everything was fine. And then on top of that, I felt great all week because I'm able to actually be fully present and I can talk about things that are actually important. Like we are actually here to
yeah.
talk about business stuff. And if you're just drunk, then that's not going to happen. So, so
Oh,
it's like, oh wow, actually I can actually do what I'm supposed to be doing.
yeah.
And then I'm adding on to the success, which is great.
Hmm.
Again, not attached to that as if like I have to have a success, but I mean, it's a good thing, I'm not going to argue with it. But anyway, my point is back to what you were saying is like, yeah, maybe sometimes in life you kind of have to go a different way. You kind of have to be, I don't know if in this situation I want to call it a leader because I don't really feel like I'm like leading or anything like that in this particular situation. Um, but I will still say, yes, I agree that there's a time to be a leader. There's a time to differentiate yourself from the crowd. And just like how Arjuna feels all this fear when he's about to face family members on the battlefield, and then Krishna kind of, brings him uh, back to reality and he's all good again. That's how it is. That's been my experience with this whole thing is like, you're all freaked out in the beginning and then you realize it's nothing and you're fine and
Hmm.
you have no idea why you were ever scared in the first place. So yeah, I agree with what you're saying. um, you can't always just follow. You're gonna end up in a bad situation if you do that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The getting into that. I mean, with the drinking and stuff, right? Like, I get a kick if I can become even more conscious and being like so sharp and so in tuned, you know, all of a sudden, through not preaching, but how people view you, could all of a sudden you could get to, I believe you could get to a certain point to where now all of a sudden the drinking and stuff that people do, it might spark the being inside of them saying, hey, I want what that guy's got. What's that guy on? You know, yeah, I'm on consciousness. That's what I'm on. You know what I mean? I'm on another plane here, you know, and how you feel so relaxed, or it's my liquid courage. Like I that flows through me, you know, like I'm on that 24/7, you know, but the natural, the conscious, you know, I'm over here, you know, and then all of a sudden to where that started to happen, other people start, you know, I could see where then, you know, there could come a day if enough people became more conscious and enlightened to where all of a sudden this other stuff would just kind of veer off, you know, it wouldn't be needed anymore. That would be, you could go into, that'd be crazy. I don't even know how that would work. You're going into like a lounge or something, and it's like, who can become more conscious in this lounge?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're all just like, you know, looking at each other and like one upping each other with your consciousness talk, you know?
Right?
You know what I mean? Um,
That'd be
but
awesome.
yeah, but I just get like, if like you were there and like everybody's kind of like, you know, like, again, I think of everybody like computers, right? So like, you know, their circuit board's not running real fast, and there's you know, and then you're just like super sharp and stuff. So even if they had a couple of drinks, you know, it still it gets you off of a, you know, you're not as sharp, and to where that could become even more of a benefit to you if
Hmm.
somebody were like, you know, talking business or whatever. You could just be really sharp and just be very conscious, and not speak to their minds, their inebriated minds, but maybe in that their defenses are so down, their mind doesn't even know what's going on because it needs that it needs that stuff so it can kind of like mellow out. But their being doesn't need that. So maybe that could be a way to, you know, again, the being now can start to come out a little bit and start looking, and then it sees somebody very conscious and it sparks something in them. Um,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
anyways, I'm getting very sci-fi on this. I feel, I
Well,
don't know.
no, and I like what you said about getting, if like everyone could get to that state at some point, and that's the way of the bodhisattva. I don't know if you've looked into that at all, but bodhisattvas, they take a vow to help every other sentient being become enlightened as well.
Hmm.
Like, they don't want to get to that ultimate reality until everybody else has gotten there along with them.
Hmm.
So their goal is like, once they've achieved a certain state of enlightenment to where they can help out other beings, that's what they do. They go and make sure that all the other beings become enlightened too, because it's not just about you, it's about everyone and everything, even animals and plants, whatever. Like,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
again, kind of getting sci-fi with that, but um, it's like being so compassionate that you want everything to become enlightened, and
Yeah.
you will do whatever you can to help everything else become enlightened as well.
Hmm.
Um, and really, I think that's kind of what we're doing with these videos. Is like, yeah, we could just be having these conversations by ourselves. And again, let me preface it: I'm not trying to say we're full on enlightened bodhisattvas here, but I am saying as we gain more knowledge, or should I say, as we're becoming more conscious, and as we're kind of becoming more aware of things, and we're learning, um, we're like, hey, we shouldn't just be having these conversations alone amongst each other, and we have done that for years. But we need to start taking it to other people. We need to
Hmm.
start spreading that to the rest of the world, because really it's about everyone. It's not
Hmm.
just about us. And there's a really awesome book that I have here called Atisha's Path, or Atisha's Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment. Um, and it talks about this bodhisattva stuff and the altruistic intention, and having like boundless compassion for all sentient beings.
Hmm.
And it's so incredible how deep it goes,
Hmm.
because you start to feel more awakened as it starts to talk about compassion in these very like deep ways, and about
Hmm.
like really truly feeling for another being's suffering and wanting to relieve them of that suffering.
Hmm.
um and it's weird, man, because you kind of hear these things, like especially where we've grown up, like maybe in church you get like a little bit of this and that, of like, love your enemy as yourself and things like that. But at least in my experience, it's not nearly as deep as what I've been reading in this book. And I mean, it's just one of many, but I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but I'm like, wow, this just takes like the whole love and compassion thing to like a whole other level,
Hmm.
to where you're starting to feel, I don't know, you just like, you can feel the awakening like
Yeah.
happening right before your eyes. I don't know how to explain it. As I'm reading through the book, I'm just like, I've never thought this way before, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's important. It just reminded me of it when you said, if everybody could get to that level, like if you're a certain way and then other people see that, and it's just by your actions that they see that and they're like, man, I
Hmm.
want what that guy has. And it's like, maybe that's what kind of starts to turn the tide, is like one by one,
Yeah.
people start helping each other. And again, I mean, that's what we hope to do with these videos. Um, Hopefully it helps somebody, you know.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, yeah, getting that mind out of the way, and because everybody, there's everybody out there, there's a being in everyone, right? And how I see it is, if somebody's angry at me, or somebody has different, you know, doesn't like me for whatever the reason is, like, again, I know we always stop before we say something. Just not saying that I'm better than anybody here, but I'll look at that. I will look at them uh, in control, and be say, okay, that's, they're unconscious, and they don't know what they're doing, right? They're asleep at the wheel, but the being inside is just exactly the same as my being. Like, we're all the same, and they're suffering, like you said, and and this is going to sound bad too. Like, if you were to view them as, maybe they're a little sick, right? And, you know, if only they knew how to get better, you know, they didn't have to live in those emotions as they do, as they feel like that's the world. I used to grow up hearing, you know, life's a bitch, and then you die, and it's just like, and that's what I always thought, like, for the longest. It was just like, okay, I'm gonna have these ups and downs. I'm gonna have just as many laughs as I have many cries, and life's a bitch, and then you die. And that's just what I thought the world was. It was just gonna be rough, hard, rugged, and I just got to man up and just deal with it, right? And but it was a crappy way to live, you know. It was just a cheap saying to uh, just to crumble the paper and just keep moving on. But
Right.
you're not dealing with anything. I mean, it's it's kind of like the saying, "It is what it is." Like, what does that mean? But
Right.
uh, yeah. So no, it's yeah, very very interesting, very interesting.
Yeah, it is. Maybe we'll have time for one more of these, and we can see what happens after that. So, that was. Oh, okay. Now this one's kind of similar to the one we just read, so I don't know if it's the best one, but this kind of even this kind of even takes it to another level. So this is chapter 18, verse 47, and Krishna is saying to Arjuna, "It is better to do one's own duty, even imperfectly, than to do another's duty perfectly. Better it is to die in one's own duty. The duty of another invites danger."
Mm, yeah. Well, I would tell
Interesting.
you, if I was at war, and I'm about to go, I could die in this. Like, I'll be damned if I'm going to be dying for somebody else's thoughts or beliefs, right? I'm going to be doing it
Yeah.
for my own, right? Like, I'm not about to do any of that for something else that I don't truly 100% believe in, and yeah, and then following your duties imperfectly. Uh, to me, that's more fulfilling, like Krishna said, than going off and then doing somebody else's perfectly, because that's not your path. And again, maybe you're jumping over there to do that one because it's easier, you
Mm,
know, and maybe there's some fulfillment in that. But again, you just diverted, you retreated, and you didn't follow the path that you were supposed to follow. And maybe they all will be somewhat imperfect, because it can't be easy, because then everybody else would just be following their path, right? We'd all be okay. I think every path is meant to be very very hard. It's meant to test you, all the time. And one path for another might be easy for you to do, but that's the reason why your path is your path. And yes, you will be imperfect, but if you follow through with it, there is fulfillment in that. And that I'm never retreating. I'm always, if that's my enemy ahead, whether it be somebody or the unknown in my path, we could call it the enemy, whatever you're striving for towards. uh I know that I'm staying true, and I'm continuing that battle, um through thick and thin. And yeah, I totally, I feel I see what he's saying there.
yeah. And I mean, you've been through that, you know, going through starting your own company and everything.
Hmm.
I mean,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
it's not like you just, yeah, I'll just do this, and it's going to work out great, and there will never be any tough times.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, well, in that, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I really, I don't know, I'm not good with words, as probably other people know. But when 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 I say divine, again, I don't mean like, this person in the sky or anything like that. But I really think that at that moment in time, I became very, very conscious. It's very, very quiet, and I knew what I needed to do. You
Mm.
know, and and when I made that jump, when I did that, it was very scary. Uh, but I knew it was right because everything in my mind was telling me it was wrong. So
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I knew that was. I was like, you know what? I've been following my mind, letting it control how I do things. And this once, I'm gonna go 180 on it. I'm gonna go 180 on it, and it was the but again, I was more conscious, and I really did feel like there was something, energy or something that's just directing me, saying, when I say saying, I didn't hear it, but I just felt it, like, this is what you need to do. And it was very strong. And it was the best thing I could have ever done for myself, and I
Wow.
continue, and I remember those things, you know, and it continues me on the times that are tough. And that's not just in business, but just in life, to be going through something, and it's super tough, but I got to trust the path, you know, and I can't deviate from it, even though, sometimes it's hard, but yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, once you, I think if you really are truly silent and you're you're becoming more aware, you do feel that. You do start to feel kind of like a pull in a certain direction. And you kind of find like where you need to start heading. And once you find that, that's kind of my whole idea behind this whole talk is like once you find that, then just get in that groove and keep going with it, right?
Mhm.
And don't get into the mindset that you have to retreat to a monastery to become enlightened. I think that you can do this, and even Bhagavad Gita is telling us this. You can do this even being, a warrior in the world or whatever it may look like for you. Um, it doesn't have to be go run away to a mountaintop, right? Now, again, I'm not saying that's wrong because maybe that is your calling. And if it is, that's great. Go do that. Because again, there's people who we need, people doing that as well. But all I'm saying is once you find your thing and you have that feeling, and when you know that's your thing, stick it out, even if it gets super hard, even if it is just like sandpaper on a wound. You just got to keep going for it. And I noticed, through YouTube analytics that some of our audience is a little bit younger. Maybe you're in college. And I know, don't use me as an example. I got I got through a few classes and I was like, man, F this. I'm not doing this. Now, whether that was a good thing or a bad thing doesn't really matter now where I'm at in life. But it's just one example of, maybe that's what you're going through, somebody that's watching this. And you're like, dude, I'm 2 years in and I just want to quit. Like, I have no idea how I'm going to make another 2 years or whatever it looks like. Um, but just keep going. Like, stick with it. Um, and really, here's another thing too that I thought about this today. I don't know why I thought about it, but pushing harder and having like more grit and more like toughness is actually counterproductive to moving forward. The way to really move forward and to advance and to progress is to be at your center, at your core, and just be completely present, full clarity of mind and just fully conscious and aware and completely at peace, and you will literally break through the stratosphere. You'll be like a shooting star going traveling through different galaxies. Like that's how you really, like if you go deep within, that's how you really propel forward. But this kind of like tough guy grit persona, and there's a lot of that in business too, where it's just like, oh, this kind of this like go get 'em type attitude. It's like, yeah, I mean, I get that you're motivating us, and like there is a time and place for that too. Especially like sports, like there is kind of a you do kind of need to be chippy, like in some sports. Like I know we like hockey, so it's like, yeah, you kind of do have to do some tough guy enforcer stuff with stuff like that. Um, but really, and I would even say, even with something like that, like I really feel like if somebody is is practicing something like meditation, or there's another thing too. I don't know if any football players have ever actually done this, but I've seen on like movies where a football player will go take ballet, and they do ballet, and it's like, why would you do that? But they become better, like they're able to juke people out better, and like, you
Yeah.
know, now they're like the best rusher on the team or whatever. So what I'm getting at is like, I don't want people to think, because I've made this mistake in my life where I go harder. Like I put like I run into a wall, I hit some bump in the road, like you were saying, and I just go even harder, and I grit my teeth even more, and I just like it's like I hang on even tighter, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I just like crumble, and then it just like the wheels come off, and I just slam into a brick wall and like lose all my teeth, and then it's so I've learned over time that that's not really the way to make progress. Really, by going, and it's kind of counterintuitive, but really by going this way within, are you able to really kind of like go forward? Um, so I don't know. Take that for what it's worth, I guess.
No, I love everything that you just said right there. That's something it's helped me get through a lot of stuff doing exactly what you just said. Um, I think when you exactly what you said, when you have that grit and you, because I've done it too. I know a lot of people just I got to get through this, and you get through it, and you smash through the barrier or whatever the case may be, and maybe you make it to the other side. But like you said, there's might be really nothing left of you, once you get back, and maybe you have to now. I got to go back and pick up all the pieces, and
Yeah,
guess what? You're going to be right back at that road bump again. And like, but if you look at it as if that road bump has a lesson in it, like it could be like if you're playing a video game. Like I can't advance to the next level if I don't beat this level, right? So this is the next level. This whatever I'm in, whether I like it or not. There's something trying to tell me something, and I've come to believe that if I don't figure it out, like I'm not gonna get I'm not going to advance. Like if I'm going to stay stagnant in life until I figure this out. And I feel like that's really really true. It's come up at the right moment at the right time. And even though that you don't think it, it has. And maybe it's not a lesson for you to benefit you now. Again, it might be it, if you try to crash through everything when that important thing comes that might be a week away or 2 years away, these lessons could be getting you ready for what's about to come, whether it be near or farther away. uh and if you grit in it and just kind of like how we were taught, you know you're you're just going through the world and you're not learning anything. And I think that's again why you get to midlife and you have those midlife crises, because you haven't learned any lessons in what life has been trying to tell you. You know, you've you've been finding refuge in all these other people, doing other people's dharmas, even though they don't know what a dharma is, nor do you. But you're just trying to fit in, and then you hit a huge bump in the road, one that you can't grit your teeth and go through, you know, and now you've went through all these levels. However, you haven't even looked around. You don't even know where you're at, and now you're in a midlife crisis, and yeah, now you're really lost. Now what do you do? And you see people that they kind of freak out, and rightfully so. But it's kind of one of those things where you got to kind of like stop and smell the roses every once in a while. Otherwise, life's going to pass you by. Um, so, uh, and in that as well is part of being conscious and being one, and just being, within. You'll start to notice that little things in life, those things that you just walk by all the time. I know it might not seem much, but you're getting ready for work and you got to hurry up and you got to jump in your car and then haul ass to work because you're gonna be late. And that one time you're quiet, you're peaceful. You walk out to your car and you notice, oh wow, well there's a bird nest up there with some birds, and oh look at that, and man, the I am getting that aroma from that flower bed over there. It those little small things that we're just totally on the grind, getting on your steel horse, and you're going to work, and just all the beautiful everything, just the simplicities of life that you just take for granted. You just everything else is on the back burner, and you're just chasing after that dollar, and life's just passing you by. It's a it's a it's a crazy spiral to get in, but yeah, just be one and be silent, and the more you are, like just like Matt said, fo- just 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 follow your path, and like Matt said, when you have that feeling, just stay true to it, and you'll be just fine. But if there's lessons, if there's bumps, don't look at it like, man, another one. You got to look at it and just be like, look, I got to figure out what's going on here, and in a deeper sense, what's it trying to tell me? And then when you figure it out, I guarantee you're gonna advance. But hey, guess what? There's gonna be another bump in the road somewhere down the road, and it's just another lesson. And then it's a game. You got to figure out what is it trying to tell me, whether good or bad.
Exactly. Man, I love it. You always have a way of just kind of topping off the conversation with a good lesson for everyone.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you.
No, no, I think that's good. Yeah, I love what you said, staying true to yourself and all that too. That's important. Yeah, man, I don't know if I have anything else to say on all that. I think this has been amazing. I mean, I feel like I got something out of it, which is great.
Yeah.
Hopefully somebody else got something out of it, but I mean, I always get something out of every talk, so I'm just thankful for that. And you know, if someone else does, then I'm grateful for that too. So, do you have anything else you want to add to it before we close it out?
No, no, all good. We'll again put this get this video come up. We'll be out again next week. Me and Matt are talking about maybe in the future taking this thing, maybe doing some uh different scenery. Obviously behind us, maybe we're going to be visiting some places and just kind of doing what we're doing, but just in other places. So yeah, so we're looking forward to that, and yeah, looking forward to more talks.
Exactly. Yeah, we are going to change it up a little bit in terms of, like Josh said, the scenery. You know, as much as I know everyone loves just staring at our beautiful faces with a blank wall behind us or maybe a lamp. We're definitely gonna, go to some different areas, go outside, get some fresh air, may even talk to some other people about these things. And again, we want to kind of spread this all over the world if we can. So uh, we might be bringing other people in to talk to, or maybe even interview at some point, or whatever, whatever the case may be. But just want to let everyone know that, yeah, we're going to make it fun. We're going to make it dynamic, and we're going to keep building this thing up as time goes on. So hopefully someone will want to join along for the ride. It'll be fun.
Definitely.
But yeah,
Definitely.
I think that's it for this one. And it's been a great talk as always, and we'll catch you next time.
Yes, sir.
All right. Take care, brother.
All right.